All right, everybody, I am back with a brand new DC update. And I really wish I would have gotten an update yesterday, but I was busy. So I didn't have a chance to get an update until this morning. But there has been a lot of information that has come out of Warner Brothers basically from the last 3 days. And we have got to talk about all of this. Everything from what I consider to be stolen valor from James Gunn to taking credit for something he really shouldn't be taking credit for, which is good for DC Studios, but not such a good look for James Gunn. They've chosen their Green Lantern, it appears, and we're going to talk about that. Plus, it looks like there's another Arkham game on the way. And so there's a lot to discuss in today's update, so we're going to jump right in. Now, I am on the road to 20,000 subs, and I can only get there with your help. So if you're new here and you like the video, take the time to please hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you're a long-time viewer of my channel, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and subscribe, like the video. It helps on YouTube tremendously. All right, guys, so let's get into today's update. So this photo that I grabbed first is truly my feelings on all of this. Now, James Gunn posted that DC Studios is off to a good start. Quality is our priority. And he posted about Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, getting a perfect 100% by critic and the audience. Critics love it. The audience loves it. That was going to be a given. And then you have the Penguin, which is at 94% by critics and 89% by the audience. And he's taking credit for both of these. And I'm sorry, he's been too busy off filming Superman Legacy. He can't make it to the Comic-Con. He can't post a trailer for the Penguin because he claims they don't have internet service, yet he posted several times that day. He only comes out and posts when it makes him look good. And this is one of those situations. And this person sums it up perfectly. He said, remember when the Gunn cult said we shouldn't blame Gunn for the flops of The Flush, Shazam 2, Aquaman 2, Blue Beetle, because he wasn't involved after becoming DC CEO, even though he gave notes and made changes. Now he himself is taking credit on films he wasn't involved in making, which is 100% true. Both of these projects were in production and pretty much finished. The Penguin wasn't finished, but it was definitely in production. But the Superman movie was done. They just needed to shop it around to find which studio was going to distribute it. And Warner Brothers is the most logical choice considering the subject. He is taking credit for all of this, and he had nothing to do with these. Now, there are rumors that he sent notes in the Penguin, but again, I talked about some discrepancies in the information coming out of that one of the producers, I think, of the Penguin said that the only conversation they ever had with James Gunn was, right before filming, and he liked what they were doing. Didn't make it sound like any other communication had been done outside of that. And James Gunn has been very hesitant to even promote the Penguin, but now that it's out, he can't hide from it, and he's taking credit for it. And I think that Peter Safran at this stage should be the face of this, because James Gunn is writing, producing, and directing too many things that he can't be too involved with this stuff that is going on. And so I think this is what I considered stolen valor when it comes to promoting something in the movie industry. And James Gunn himself is known for taking credit for things that aren't his. There's a history of it. Now, this came before they actually chose Green Lantern. I present these things in the order that I grabbed them, but this is from Screen Rant, and it said, in recent weeks, Lanterns has been the subject of huge casting speculation as DC Studios nears casting its live-action Hal Jordan. New fan art shared by 21x4 proves Chris Pine would be perfect as Hal Jordan's Green Lantern. What do you think of this casting choice? And he would have. Out of all of the guys, I think he would have made the best choice. They've got a picture of it here. It looks good. Now, we're going to talk about what I think is going to happen with the Green Lantern show, Lanterns, here in a few minutes. I think we're headed for another budget program where I don't think they're going to be in their costumes very much, if at all. But we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. We're going to talk about who they cast and what I think is going to happen here in the future. I don't agree with much. I don't agree much with Mark Hamill. He's very political online, and I think he should just kind of tone it down. I do agree with him on this. Sabrina posted, "It's not Batman Day without giving appreciation to the one who has been the true face of Batman for the last few decades. Kevin Conroy, you are so loved and missed beyond measure. Our Batman forever. Batman Day." And he was. He has been. Anytime I read comics, I hear his voice. I hear Mark Hamill as the Joker. These guys really put some voices to these characters and have forever changed the landscape when it comes to Batman and also the Joker. And Mark Hamill said he was and always will be my Batman. All right, so it looks like the Superman story, the Christopher Reeve story, will get a wide release this fall. They had a couple of days, but it is reportedly getting a wide release this fall. Warner Brothers wants the film to contend for Best Documentary Feature Oscar. And of course they would. They had nothing to do with making this film, but they are going to take credit for it and try to get some wins here. And, I mean, they are DC Studios, and kudos to them for, trying to get as much credit as possible. But just remember, they had nothing to do with the making of this film, only the distribution of it. Kristen Milotti says she's dreamt of playing a Batman villain since she was a kid. I've wanted to be one since I started watching movies. I've auditioned for a lot of superhero stuff. No one was biting. But everything happens for a reason. And yes, she was amazing in the first episode of The Penguin. I am looking forward to more, seeing more of her on screen. She definitely has a presence. So I thought this was interesting. Matt Reeves came out, and he's heard the rumors of the Court of Owls being a part of the film, and he made a comment about this. He said, "We can't comment on the movie because we are doing the movie, and then you'd know what movie we're doing. And we're not going to say that yet." In fact, I think movies give too much away. I think you should get a look at it, but I don't think they should give much of the story away. I really wish trailers would get away from telling too much of the story, but I think it's still good to see a glimpse. Now, one thing I forgot to mention in regards to the Batman 2 and also the Penguin, and one thing I'm nervous of in part 2 of the Batman is, if you guys have seen my review of the Batman and how I talk about the Batman, it's a very flawed Batman movie, but I do enjoy it. I know some people absolutely hate it. Some people love it. It's definitely divided audiences. Some people thought it was boring as all get out. That is the biggest complaint. And, it could be a little boring. It's slow. That is for sure. But my fear is, I said that the Batman 2 and the Batman 3 are only going to work if Batman has actual character growth. I didn't like him just walking up to the Iceberg Lounge and knocking. There were a lot of things. He was slow talking, slow moving. Batman's definitely more brutal than that. And if there's no growth in this character, I don't think it's going to work. I don't want the same Batman that we had in the Batman 1. And what's crazy about this is this movie basically is going to take place 3 weeks after the Batman. So, yes, I have some very big fears about how Batman is going to be portrayed. I am not 100% sold on Matt Reeves as a filmmaker or a writer. Now, I thought this was pretty awesome. I've seen him do some of this work here around, and I think he's awesome for doing this. But it says Christian Bale is building a $22 million village for foster kids in California. He is a real-life Batman doing good for people, something the government is not doing. And so it's when ordinary citizens come together, they could do more good than the government ever can. Now, I just put this in the bizarre column. It says Lady Gaga says that if her Harley Quinn met Batman, she'd probably light him on fire. Okay. All right, so here it is. This comes directly from Deadline. Kyle Chandler is reportedly in talks to star as Hal Jordan in the Lantern series for DC. And we're going to talk about this because it looks like it's going much further than just being reportedly in the talks, as you'll see with some of the other photos that I have grabbed here. Now, I was very excited to see this. It says a new Batman game is reportedly in the works at Rocksteady. PlayStation are also trying to get exclusivity for the game. And this comes via something looks like Shape Shall Nick on Twitter. No one knows if this is real or not. I hope it is. I love the Batman series. Those 4 games that were part of this were amazing. There's technically 5 games if you count the kind of side-scrolling one. But I've played all of these games, finished them all, and I've replayed through the first 2 this last year alone. And these games still hold up very well today, and for their time were absolutely groundbreaking. It was the first time you played a game, and I think you really felt like that hero. So Batman is their number 1 seller. There's no reason why they shouldn't be doing a new Batman game, but they will have to get a different voice actor because Kevin Conroy has passed away. Here's more talk from Variety. Kyle Chandler is in negotiations for a lead role in the Green Lantern series, Lanterns, at HBO. Now, what's interesting about this is they said in negotiations for a lead role, but they don't say which role. Matt Reeves talks a little bit more about the Batman 2 and says that the Batman 2 will be rated PG-13. So more talk of Kyle Chandler. It says, true news. Kyle Chandler to play Hal Jordan in HBO's Green Lantern series, Lanterns, via @RickReporter and The Hollywood Reporter. So this is pretty much a done deal at this stage, okay? They're reporting this. This is what is supposedly happening. Now, we haven't heard from James Gunn, and James Gunn always says, don't believe anything until I tell you guys what is happening. Now, this person who reported this, Boris Kitt from The Hollywood Reporter, continues, and this is what is interesting about this, and I'm going to talk about this when I'm done going through the photos. It says, interesting aspect to this. Chandler does not have a movie component to his deal, according to my sources. This does not bode well for Hal Jordan, and we'll talk about this here in a few minutes. All right, so first of all, I really don't like the about face by James Gunn taking credit only because he's part of DC Studios. Yes, DC Studios is obviously in charge of releasing those projects. They were planned long before those individuals took over, and they only promote or show stuff like this when it makes them look good. But like I said, James Gunn has been very hesitant to even promote the Penguin at all, or even talk about the Batman. He's more concerned about his stuff, even though he is the head CEO. All right, now let's talk about Kyle Chandler becoming Hal Jordan. I don't think this bodes well for the future, and if you want to piss off a lot of fans right off the bat, this is how you do it. Hal Jordan is by far the most recognizable Green Lantern. And you cannot have Green Lanterns without Hal Jordan being involved. And I have a feeling with as old as Kyle is and what they're doing with the show, and that there's not a movie component to this, supposedly, that they're going to kill him off in the Lantern series. I believe he is going to be pushed to the side so that you can have, his counterpart take over, Jon Stewart. And, there hasn't been a whole lot of talk about Jon Stewart. Everybody's excited to see Hal Jordan, not Jon Stewart. Not to say that people aren't excited to see Jon Stewart. The 2 Green Lanterns for me are Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, but Hal Jordan has always been the face of Green Lantern, and that is proven by comics. When you take Hal Jordan away from the main storyline, sales go down. When you bring Hal Jordan back, sales go up. It's just a fact. You can't get around that. He is the face of Green Lantern, and if you bring in somebody as old as he is to play this character or push him to the side, you are going to alienate a huge part of your fan base. And again, this is one of those things. I don't see the DCU taking off the way they think it's going to do if you don't give the fans the meat and the potatoes. You want to do all the bizarre, weird crap and bring in the secondary characters to be your leads, you're going to lose your main audience. And maybe they're going for a whole new audience that doesn't exist. And maybe they're going for the people that are 20 and younger and don't care about the main characters. That's what this seems like. And as far as the Lantern show goes, my fear is that they're barely ever going to be in costume. It's supposed to be a terrestrial, story, basically a mystery that they're having to solve, where they're not going to be off planet very much, if at all. And maybe we won't even see them in their costumes. I have a fear that they're going to make this a straight up gritty detective story without them using their costumes. But we'll see. We shall see. It looks like, once they have the casting done, well, first of all, they won't cast until the scripts are done, and they won't cast until things are about to go into production. So Lanterns is probably going to go into productions very, very, very soon, probably at the beginning of next year, and we'll still have more stuff to talk about when they cast, Jon Stewart. But we'll see. I'm betting we're not going to see anything with the Guardians of Oa. We're probably not going to see anything with any of the other Green Lanterns. They're probably just going to stick to these two. And also, with what's his name from Superman, which I still think is ridiculous. But, hey, everything I see coming out of the DCU is very underwhelming, does not leave me excited at all. They're going to bring in a young Jon Stewart and have a very old Hal Jordan, and that's not what I ever wanted. Why can't you have them on the same level? Hollywood has this issue where when it comes to dealing with race or with sex, that they tend to think that to make women look good, you have to demean the men. And to bring in people of color, you have to throw the Caucasian people off to the side. It's just the way Hollywood runs. And Warner Brothers has been the absolute worst when it comes to representation. And they just don't know how to deal with race or how to deal with representation at all when you have a whole history of DC characters of certain ethnicities, colors, whatever, and you don't use them and you want to change already existing characters. It's just stupid. It's just stupid. And hopefully they learn their lesson. But I wanted Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart to be a team about the same age, but it looks like everybody in the Justice League is going to be much older than Superman is. This just doesn't make any sense at all, guys. It just does not make any sense at all and leaves me scratching my head and wondering who this DCU is even being made for. All right, guys, what do you guys think about all of this news? Chime off below. I do appreciate all the support. Again, if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and we will see you on the next video.